Chapter 5. Naming Day. Justice as a concept, in the ancient world, was constantly evolving. It was about the needs of society more than the needs of any one individual. It was, however, aligned to social status. One could, as a powerful individual, expect more justice than the lesser mortals. In the period of history dominated by the seven deities of Centrath, in Palmyra, Anoxes, and Cella, justice was relegated to the Judex Primaria, always a man of advancing age who was considered wise enough to speak for the deity of justice in an official capacity. Few citizens, when faced with a verdict from the Judex Primaria, would go against the prescribed punishment and recompense. Eduardo Lestalt, Essay on Religion, Justice, and Commerce in the Ancient World. They waited a week. During that time, Sebastian was kept in the stable in an empty stall. He spent the days praying to the seven deities, wishing he could go back and rectify his mistakes, but time refused to be altered or coerced. On the seventh day, Dumeril brought him a clean tunic and breeches, waiting while he bathed and dressed. They left the stable together, but he was led towards the cemetery instead of the blacksmith's annex. "Am I to be executed after all?" he asked. Dumeril clapped him on the back and explained, "We go first to the altar, to name Corleone, so that he will be numbered among the citizens of Palmyra. To pray that health, happiness and peace might accompany him all the days of his life. Once accepted by the Septenatro, Father will bless him, declare before the seven deities that he is to be known, hereafter, as my firstborn son and heir." After the naming ceremony, the men of Groban's estate went to the blacksmith's annex. In addition to Groban and Dumeril, Corella's uncles were present to bear witness to his punishment. Sebastian's eyes had only just become accustomed to the dim interior when Judex Alton arrived with another man who was unfamiliar to him. Groban looked around at the men gathered in the humble blacksmith annex and nodded to himself. He went to the workbench and uncovered a set of earthenware cups and poured a measure of one of his finest spirits into each one. He gave one to each man, including Sebastian. Judex Alton waited until the assembled men finished their drink. When he spoke, his remarks were directed to Sebastian. He gestured to the man who had accompanied him, saying, "This is Devrin. I have asked him to act as the hand of deity, that he might visit your punishment upon you. He is an expert in this procedure." Devrin nodded towards Sebastian and the other men. "Remove your garments," he instructed Sebastian. His next words were not addressed to any one individual. "I will use a substance I call superen." He pulled a shallow clay pot out of his bag. "With this, we cleanse the region." He listened carefully to Devrin's monologue while disrobing. He was a dynamic speaker, eloquent and direct. "Once the flesh is bathed in superen, calumnon, the pernicious and pervasive spirit of evil and decay, will be attracted to the site. It is attracted to the pure and pristine that it might work to despoil it." Dumeril was indignant. "Why attract calumnon? Is that not usurping the will of the seven deities exactly the same were we to execute him?" Sebastian removed his undergarments, but was so focused on the information being presented to them, that he was unconcerned at his nudity. Devrin answered Dumeril's question, "Were I to focus only on bringing forth the calumnon to Sebastian's injury, that would usurp the will of the seven deities, and I would not wish that upon any living soul." He lifted a second clay pot. "Next, we use the essence of asphodel. It is used upon the bodies of the deceased, to smooth the way to the hereafter. Calumnon works only upon the living, having no interaction with the dead. The asphodel encourages his departure, that he might search for the living yet injured, to torment them." Devrin turned to look at him. Up until now, Sebastian had avoided thinking about the punishment that was to be his. He would never know the glory of making love to a woman. His was not the swift justice of beheading. His suffering would extend to many days. Execution seemed kinder. Sebastian was fighting off panic as Devrin and Dumeril positioned him. The panic burgeoned when his legs were strapped to sturdy wooden posts, and his arms were similarly bound. It is instinct that makes a man react when he feels pain or knows that it is about to be delivered to him. You may have every intention of allowing this procedure to go forward, but if you are not bound, you will at some point begin to fight, Devrin explained dispassionately. To his surprise, Groban offered him another cup of spirits. Devrin stopped him and crushed a dried herb into the cup, stirring it with one finger before waving him on. This will ease your anxiety and calm your fears. After Groban assisted him to drink the now bitter spirits, Devrin pulled out a small wooden box and opened the lid. Within was an ivory-colored powder. This will take the worst of the fear and render it inert. This is critical, because Calumnan is not deceived by the asphodel if fear surrounds the man. Thus we eliminate fear and increase the chance of surviving. Devrin pushed the finger that was still damp from the spirits into the white powder and pulled it out coated in dust. He dipped his finger in a second cup of spirits and had Sebastian drink it. Sebastian's fear receded, replaced by curiosity, as if he was one of the spectators, rather than the one being punished. Devrin bathed his genitals in the first substance before carefully coating the cool pouch of skin with the essence of asphodel. When he saw the knife, his peace began to seep away. Devrin's monologue continued, providing Sebastian with something to focus on. First we must expose the seeds within. A swift stroke is preferable and the least painful. Devrin followed words with action, and Sebastian was shocked by the acute pain that was, nevertheless, nothing like he expected. His breath escaped him on a hiss and he groaned slightly. Devrin's words and actions from this point were swift and decisive. The incision is not the source of the pain, Devrin said. His voice was sympathetic. That comes next. Once both seeds are exposed, they must be pulled forth from the body until the stalk is taut. The desire to vomit was intense, and Sebastian's groan rose several octaves into a half-realized scream. If severed, Devrin continued, his tone now grim, man or beast will bleed excessively and Calumnan will be lured back to visit corruption upon the flesh, with death to surely follow. Thus, the only secure and safe method is to apply two forces to the stalks. I have come to appreciate the value in using both simultaneously and swiftly. They must be crushed to eliminate bleeding and only then severed. Sebastian's high-pitched scream of anguish accompanied Devrin's words. Shock and pain combined, and he passed out.